Hey, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. A Friday edition, actually, a WPT Weekly. Jason, Joe B, and Tommy M. I am back home in sunny South Florida after, I guess, jet setting in a way to Lexington, Kentucky. It was a short but a good and sweet visit to Keeneland. Tommy Murphy and I and Danielle and Jeff Lowe got to spend a little time with a few of our horses on Thursday at the races. It was a good time, Tommy.
Yeah, it was. It's always nice to have someone come up and visit, especially at Keeneland. It's such a cool place to be. Just something about it. I don't know. Every time I drive in and pull into the gates there, it just puts a smile on my face. So it was a lot of fun. Obviously, races didn't necessarily go our way, but that's just something you have to deal with in racing, and you got to roll with the punches and move on to the next day.
You definitely do. But along those lines, Joe, I walked away and trust me, I wanted my picture taken. I'm 1 for 1 at Keeneland, and that happened to be a Breeders' Cup Classic win a few years ago. But I wanted to make it 2 for 2 with Line of Justice. But I'll tell you, Joe, he ran a very solid race in defeat, got a good number, and still seems to be pretty raw, just in terms of I think his mental aptitude when he's out there racing.
Yeah, no, I was gonna call him a big idiot. So you you got a more buttoned
little
up
little more PC on my
a
end,
little
but
more
yeah,
buttoned up
Brad
version
was
of
like
it.
this horse along those lines. He's like he has no blank clue what he's doing out there, and he just
Yeah.
about won that race.
No, it was great, and he's got that big body too. That I think the longer the better for him. So maybe even a mile and an eighth and up will be up his alley later this summer potentially. Some of those big races up at Saratoga. Yeah, I thought it was good. Like when the horse got loose on the lead, he didn't really get discouraged. He kept trying and kept eating up ground and just ran out of racetrack. But obviously a really nice horse.
Yes. Speaking of nice horses, we had the last round of Kentucky Derby preps this past Saturday, or I should say the past week. Given the fact that the Bluegrass was run on a Tuesday, kind of an unprecedented move, I should say. I was wondering, just in the back of my mind, like, has a Grade One race ever been run in like the last century in this country on a Tuesday? You guys don't recall, or even I take a Monday even with the Grade One race.
Yeah, I mean, well, Mondays because you got Saratoga, so that's the
Right.
like the
Yeah.
hopeful. But yeah, I can't remember ever one on a Tuesday. It was really cool. I don't know, like I get like the whole Saturday afternoon horse thing, but I thought it was a really cool like little switch up to have a weekday with some major racing action like that.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And in fact, you know what? Why don't we jump right into Burnham Square? It's nice when the good guys win. You know, you got Brian Hernandez fresh off at Oaks and Derby win last year, riding for Ian Wilkes. It's also nice, and this is a whole other conversation, seeing non-super trainers winning these key and major, richer, history-rich Kentucky Derby preps. Joe, I'll send it to you. Actually, you know what, Tommy? You were there. I'll send it to you. You've got East Avenue on the lead for Brendan Walsh, Burnham Square last in the picture in those red silks, cranking up with the 4 wide run. It was an exciting race, although for me, I don't know if I want anybody out of the Bluegrass moving on to Churchill.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. I wasn't really blown away. It was neat being there on a Tuesday for a Grade One race, and right about here, I thought, the race is absolutely wide open. I thought East Avenue. It was nice to see him run back to form and kind of that form he showed as a 2-year-old, winning that Grade One at Keeneland. But it really was wide open. Every horse, I think, really had a shot. And you could make a case for every horse in the field. Obviously now with that run on Tuesday, that was kind of the nail in the coffin for everybody getting that Derby field set. But overall, like I said, Burnham Square, I thought he ran a nice race. I don't necessarily love him in the Derby, neither with East Avenue. I just think he's going to be probably burnt up a little bit up front. There seems to be a good amount of speed that's going to be going into that first turn of the Derby. But overall, nothing, I think, earth-shattering out of this race. It was, like you said, nice to see Ian Wilkes get 2 Grade Ones on a Tuesday at Keeneland. That was very cool to see with the Positano Sunset as well, winning. So it was just like Joe said too, it was just a really unique day at Keeneland on a Tuesday with such big races and heavy Derby implications coming out of a race like this. It was very unique.
No issue, Joe. Even though this race, in terms of like my eye test, kind of fell apart and it looked it just looked like a race that was coming apart at the seams. Like you've got pretty much the whole field, almost like a turf race, like separated by like 3.5 lengths at this point. But my initial reaction was Burnham Square won't have trouble with the distance. Is he fast enough? And for us in the Sandman camp, I was happy to see East Avenue run so well because he's another horse, as Tommy was mentioning, in that quote unquote early speed category going on to Churchill.
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge weekend for us, you would think, with East Avenue holding on for second to qualify for the Derby, and then Rodriguez winning the Wood adds a lot more speed to the race, which should bode well for Sandman. Yeah, I tend to agree with you guys on this race. The fact that and I'm happy for Ian Wilkes too. I agree with everything you guys said about that, but the fact that he just ran down East Avenue, who jumped to his left lead before the 16th pole and was clearly really tiring. I agree with you, Jason. I don't really want anybody out of this race, but I do think that the results make the Derby set up a little better for us than maybe it looked like it was going to before the weekend.
You've got some speed too with Rodriguez. Looking back to Saturday, and I'll send it to you, Joe, as far as Wood Day up at the Big A. I used to love like Wood Memorial Day so much. And I was talking last week with Tommy, and we're glad, Joe, we got you back from jury duty. You did your deed for society and your civil duty. Did you convict you in your soprano, though? What'd you come up with?
It was a mistrial.
They must have tampered. I don't know if Bobby Bacalieri got to you or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe at the races. You might have been at the Big A on Saturday for Wood Day. Getting back to Statesman, he was the kind of horse worth taking a shot, roll the dice. Kind of needed everything to go his way. Not only a career best effort, but would have needed some of like the intangibles to line up in his favor. It didn't on a number of levels. However, Rodriguez ran a very, very fast race for Bob Baffert in his third career Wood Memorial win.
Yeah, no, he flattered some of that California form, as obviously he was trounced by journalism in the San Felipe. Yeah, when he was able, I know the pace wasn't slow, but he was able to get, like, I thought, a relatively easy lead, and especially with Mike Smith on the front end, I thought we might be in trouble. Statesman, like you say, was worth taking a shot with an improving horse. Yeah, it was a great day on Saturday, just to continue the Sopranos references, because why not? Every time I'm in Equestris, which is the once a year they open it up now, I think of the Pyomai.
Yep.
the Pyomai episode. It was such a classic, but it was a great day nonetheless. Obviously, we'll regroup a bit with Statesman. He did bleed coming out of the race, but it was worth a shot, and I have confidence he'll get us some more stakes down the line.
Absolutely. Grande, I thought, and again, I was joking around with Tommy on this a week ago. Like, I'm sure there were people like, oh my God, here this guy goes again, another Rapoli horse. But I was on the record. Absolutely. His first race was good. Loved everything about his second start. And Joe, he had a crazy trip. Really a difficult trip, and sustained a pretty long like mid move. I don't know if he's necessarily good enough. And then you've got the whole inexperience factor, which concerns me. Not only him, there's a few other horses that'll be making lifetime start number 4 in the Derby. But what'd you think of Grande staying on pretty gamely for second?
Yeah, I thought he ran huge, wide on the first turn. He was the only one that really ran against the grain of the race. And overall, the card, I think the track was pretty speed favoring. He was the only one who made up any real ground and tried to take a real run at the winner on the far turn. So I thought he ran huge. And it's a good point you make about the relative lack of experience. Just makes me feel all the better for having Sandman coming into this race with 8 starts under his belt, 5 going 2 turns.
Yeah. Mark Casse has done, we've mentioned it, the three of us have mentioned it before, like 10 out of 10 job, even a higher number than that. Just phenomenal getting him the seasoning and experience. And we got Bullard coming up, waiting in the wings on a Saturday in the Lexington, maybe a Preakness horse, a beautiful Charlatan filly who I did want to include. I couldn't resist getting to it, an early pick or two of her. But let's get back to the Santa Anita Derby on Saturday. People were talking about journalism, and yes, I was impressed with him steadying and losing some momentum and position and then re-rallying and wearing down a maiden in Baeza. But guys, Tommy, I'll send it to you. People were talking about this horse on Twitter, like right after they hit the finish line. like he's the second coming of American Pharaoh, and he may win the Derby, and he's a deserving favorite. Don't get me wrong. I just feel he's like slightly overrated at this point, given the hype around him.
Yeah, I feel like putting him in the same conversation at this point as a horse like American Pharaoh is a little premature. And, you know, I don't know really what he beat. Obviously, he had to dig down pretty deep to put away Baeza in this race, and I was pretty surprised that neither of Bob's horses really fired in this spot. I thought Barnes was going to run a halfway decent race, and he was last by a long way. But this race, just maybe the 5-horse field, maybe the quality of it. Sure, he's going to be the favorite for the Derby. I'm not going to argue that, but there's a little bit in the back of my head, and I keep questioning about, truly what does he beat out west? And obviously, as it is with every year in the Derby, your 20-horse field, everyone's going to need a perfect trip to try to get it done. And you see it every year. The winner gets that perfect trip, and only one horse can do it. So he's going to have to get some luck on his side. But I tend to agree with you. I don't think that I really agree with everybody on horse racing Twitter that's all over this horse. Maybe I'm a little biased with Sandman, obviously, like some of us probably are, but I like him, but I'm just not, floored by him at this point.
Joe, what's your hot take? I mean, a few seconds ago we saw him. Barnes had him locked in pretty good, and they tried to rate him, and he was terrible. I still think Barnes could be a nice horse. He just wants to be a one-turn horse. Time to cut him back if he's okay. But journalism had a steady, got shuffled a bit. Here he comes with that relentless run. He's run fast races consistently. Fast races on Bayer. I mean, what's your take on him? I mean, is the hype justified going into the Derby with a horse who might be as low as 2.5 to 1 in a 20-horse field?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because he hasn't done anything wrong. Like, he's progressed really nicely. He showed up in big spots. I thought this was not a gimme that he was going to run down Baeza in this race, who ran his eyeballs out and should be in the Derby, and he's kind of on the bubble because of the reduced points.
Which is stupid, by the way. Like, it's just dumb.
I know, it makes no sense. But if you look at his PPs, like the 5 races that journalism's run, it's 5 horses. He did run in a 10-horse field when he broke his maiden, but it was the other 4 races he was in, you see 5 horses, 10 horses, 5 horses, 5 horses, 5 horses. Now, he obviously showed up and ran big in pretty much all those spots, but going from a 5-horse field to a 20-horse field is a major, major step up, and he's going to have a lot of things go his way. He did have a little bit of trouble in that race, but compared to the trouble you're going to just necessarily encounter in a 20-horse field in Derby, I feel like it's nothing. And, I do like him. I think he's not one of these favorites I'm going to try to beat altogether, because I do think he's game and he's going to come with his run. He definitely wants to go 1.25 miles. So I think he's a pretty good bet to hit the number, but I'm not taking him on the win end at 5 to 2 or 3 to 1 coming out of a bunch of 5-horse fields.
I'll be curious what price Sandman is. I mean, on Derby Watch, they've got him at 12. Personally, and again, I can look at it objectively. I really can. I mean, of course, I want Sandman to win, and I've been daydreaming about what would it be like to be in that winner's circle, staring up at those twin spires. So, of course, I'm biased in that regard, but I truly think 12 is way too high on him, and we could be as low as maybe 6. But, probably in that 8-ish range. And I do love Joe, and you're closest with the Cassie camp, and certainly with DJ Stable out of the entire West Point team. I love that Mark has this horse at Churchill. Do you subscribe? Because he'll have about a month to train on that track. Do you subscribe to his races last year? There were 3 of them, none of them being wins, that maybe he doesn't like Churchill. Does that concern you at all?
I don't think so. I think he was just kind of growing up and maturing, and he did move forward like a little bit in each race. Obviously, he blossomed over the winter at Oakland, but I think that was just a maturity thing. And Mark said last year one of the reasons he sent him down to Churchill was to get him familiar with that track for the first Saturday in May, and then here we are. And I agree with you. 12 to 1 is insane. I can't see him being more than 6 to 1. Honestly, like, journalism, Rodriguez is probably going to take some money. Other than that, who could possibly in this field be a lower price than him?
Right. That's the whole thing. I mean, there's some bullishness with Tapan Street, but once again, you fall back on a horse that's only run 3 times. And I mean, and I understand we had justifying age in a short span, and like those quote unquote longtime Derby rules, it seems like a lot of them have evolved and they've changed recently as the game and the training of horses and the campaigning of horses has been altered. But I mean, he just to Pan Street, Tom, he gets under the wire with the December 28th career debut as a 2-year-old. And it worries me to be going into the Derby, unless you're a super horse, to only have 3 races. It really does.
Yeah, that lack of experience, but I think that second race now with Burnham Square winning the Bluegrass, flatters him even more. I think that was the question for Tapan Street going into the Florida Derby was, was that Holy Bull a little bit fluky? But obviously, I think that's been disproven so far. But 3 races, it's going to be really tough to trust that horse. And I have a feeling he's going to take a little bit of money. So it'll be interesting to see where he stands in the grand scheme of things. I would imagine he's going to be one of the horses, probably the top 5 or 6 betting choices off of that Florida Derby win. But what price he ends up being will be tough. And then two, what I can't get out of my head is the post draw. I've been, having dreams, nightmares about the, possible scenarios of where everyone's going to draw, including us. So
it's big. Yeah,
and
no,
that does play a lot
big.
in, the chances, obviously, you don't want to be right on the rail. You don't want to be way outside 18, 19, 20, but it's really out of everyone's hands. So I'm trying not to get myself too worked up about it, but it's hard not to think about.
Yeah, no doubt. Let me share again. Go ahead, Joe. Joe, I want your thoughts too on the draw, just your mindset right now.
Yeah.
As dude, I mean, we are 22 days as we sit here. We're 3 weeks out from Oaks Day right now, which is nuts.
I know, it's amazing. It's like I want somewhere 5 through 15. Like,
Yeah.
you play roulette and you play like the second 12. That's like one of my jams.
That's what we're betting on.
Yeah, I want that middle gate area. Anywhere 5 through 15, I think we're in good shape.
Excellent. This homepage, by the way, on our site is just that is a beautiful thing with Sandman. So we've got a pretty steady plate of races, and look, we know this is a tough game. We've kind of taken our lumps early in the Keeneland meet, but we do want to wish good luck depending upon when you watch this. Hopefully, you're looking back and saying, "Oh man, West Point was 1-2 in the makers on Friday." Both of those horses had no issue with the soft turf or rain softened turf, and Integration and Northern both ran big. Tommy, you'll be there today, so good luck to you. Here's to both those horses running giant. We've also got Tavern Time racing in the finale. So looking for an exact, not to be greedy, and I don't want to anger the racing gods, but I mean, a 1-2 finish in the makers, followed by a late double sweep with Mr. Tavern sounds pretty good to me.
I'd sign up for that day, any day of the week, especially at Keeneland.
Yeah, good luck to those horses today. Bullard tomorrow, guys. And again, not looking to come on here and just like bash morning lines as someone that used to fill in for Eric Donovan over the course of the year when he was on vacation or couldn't do it. So I've done morning lines before, and it's not an easy job. I don't see how Bullard is 4.5 to 1. I think that's too high of a price on him. And Joe, as I work through the Lexington on Saturday, which likely won't yield a single Kentucky Derby starter at this juncture because of the points up for grabs, I'm worried about Gosger and Prater. I respect both those horses immensely, and they're the two that scare me in the entire field. But I love this spot for Bull to get back into the swing of things coming in from Cali.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm just really excited to see him go 2 turns. I just feel like he's a horse that he kind of succeeded in spite of himself going 1 turn. He had that big late kick, and he obviously got the great setup in the Bob Hope. But to me, this is what he wants to do: go a mile and a 16th and up. I worry a little bit about Keeneland, like that speed favoring track. There's not like a ton of speed in here. You do have, I guess Rolando's probably going to scratch, so that takes even more speed out of it. Maybe Gosger and Prater just run 1-2 around the track, but I'm just looking forward to seeing him stretch out. And there was a time where he was like our number 1 Derby contender.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I don't think that was, an erroneous assumption or evaluation. I just think it's probably going to take him a little bit more time to get around to that top grade 1 form, but I have no doubt that he's got it in him.
Well, good luck to him. Let's give a quick and excited to see Bullard run. Whether it yields or springboards him to the Preakness remains to be seen. But he's a talented horse, and I know, again, hyperbole and being bombastic are not two adjectives that I would use to describe trainer Mike McCarthy. So for Mike to be talking like bullish on how well Bullard has been training, I've been sleeping well at night going into the Lexington, put it that way. Tommy Murphy, real fast. I mean, you've got plenty of action at Keeneland, not only today and tomorrow, Sunday with Miss Enchanted, who, I mean, you're the Dale Whisperer, as I call you. She's super inconsistent. She needs, like, it's kind of like take your ball or go home time with her, right? I mean, she's got a rebound here.
Yeah, 100%. And I think her MO is she likes a fast track, and she likes to make that move outside of the horses, turning for home, and make that long sustained run down the stretch like we've seen her do a handful of times. And so I think if we can get the race to set up like that for her, we're going to be in a good spot. And I'm looking for her to bounce back after that kind of head scratcher down at Gulfstream, where it looked like, I thought going into that race she was going to be pretty live, and she just did not fire whatsoever. So I'm looking for reversal of that on Sunday at Keeneland. But I'll actually be watching on the phone or maybe on one of the TVs at OBS, because I know we're all heading down there on Sunday.
Yeah, it'll be great having the team together. I mentioned it on here. I think in the podcast we did our little chat we did immediately preceding the March sale, and I was even talking to Christina about it, and we've all done a bunch of sales cycles working for Terry and Deb, working for West Point, and it just, morale, energy, all that stuff, it just felt great in March. And that doesn't even take into account the 5 superstars that we bought. So I think my point is, excited to get to Ocala with you guys as well, and see Carson's. Don't look back at all. Sandman came out of OBS March last year. I mean, Joe, OBS, as we have Mila Rose running, she came out of April. She's running next week at Keeneland, and Runaway Rojo, everyone's favorite Indiana bred. OBS has been fertile ground for the company. It really has.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think the slight change of this sale is that we're going to find some more horses in like the lower to middle market. We bought more pricey horses from the March sale, which is always great to take a couple of swings. But I think, like you mentioned, horses like Carson's Run, and we don't look back at all who we found in that 150 to 200 range. I think that we're going to strike for a couple of those at this sale as well. So if you've been looking out for that kind of horse, stay patient. You keep your fingers crossed, and the vibe's good. We'll get some horses for you.
Definitely. 1,000,000%. What's your shirt, Joe? It says, what does that say? Bay Colt?
This is a helium.
Oh, very cool.
Helium.
That is a killer shirt. Whoever, I don't know if that was DJ Stable or
John.
someone.
Yeah, John. I think John just buys horses so he can get good ones, so he can make T-shirts for them. It's like his
cool names,
project.
cool T-shirts, cool merch.
That's one of my favorites.
So along those lines, because DJ Stable named Sandman, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Or was he named when we bought him?
Thing. I think it was a collaborative thing. We came up. He and Terry, John and Terry came up with like 3 or 4 names, and then we picked Sandman out of the hat.
Are you? And the name's killer. And along those lines, and I've been a big Metallica fan since 5th grade. I won't go down the rabbit hole, but if any West Point partners out there would like to just chat with me about Metallica's like discography and which albums I love more than others, I could talk about Metallica for hours on end. But Joe, I mean, are you holding out on us? Have DJ Stable made a Sandman shirt? Go get it. I want to see it.
Just breaking news here.
And that John, wait till I see that John Green at OBS next week.
I gotta unblur my background real quick.
Yeah. That John Green's gonna hear a mouthful. Your old pal Jason in Fort Lauderdale.
All right, here we go.
Goods.
Here we go. See it?
There it is. Sick, dude. With the gray lettering there. It looks awesome.
It's like the Metallica motif.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, these are great.
All right. Well, John Green's getting a text from me in about T-minus 30 seconds right now. But that helium shirt is,
that's
a good one. So we'll wrap up. We have a little left in the Charlatan filly, Joe. I mean, she's training like a powerhouse up at Doc Eisenman's. I know he loves her. Talked to Cherie when I was at Keeneland. She's in love with her. Can't wait to have her. And well, you got to get in on her. Is my point.
Yeah, no, man. And to me, those charlatans are only going to get more and more expensive as horses hit the track. So even though she is like on the pricier side, like to me, this is going to be a relative bargain by the summer.
All right, Tommy, your mission, 1-2 finish in the Makers today at a tavern time, race 10 win, or you are banned from the podcast. All right, so the pressure's on. But all kidding aside, great catching up with you guys. Wishing all of our horses good luck, safe trips over the next few days. Bring it home in the Makers today, Tommy, and we'll see you next time, everybody.